An important skill that students sometimes have trouble with is comparing and ordering fractions. Using a number line is a very helpful tool, and it's a very important skill to be able to locate numbers on a number line, whether they be positive or negative, integers or fractions, or mixed numbers. So let's look at the first problem we have here. There are two things that this problem asks you to do. The first is graph 7/6, 5/6, and 9/6 on the number line. And the second part is to put the fractions in order from least to greatest. And so the first thing we're going to do, because this number line is all in sixths, is to just graph the number of 6, which is relatively easy. We just have to match the fraction to the fraction where it is on the number line. So we have 7/6 and 5/6 and 9/6. And so there are a couple of things about these points. The first thing is that you will notice that two of the fractions are greater than 1. They could be expressed as mixed numbers, but in this case they're making it easy for us by expressing them as improper fractions. The important thing to understand about graphing on a number line, whether it be fractions or any other numbers, is that in all cases the value increases as we move to the right. On a number line. And that is always the case. So, once we've graphed on the number line, it certainly is easier enough to put these in order. Now, here's an important thing that a lot of people, including myself, are sometimes careless about. The instructions for this problem are put the fractions in order from least to greatest. Okay? Now, if I'm putting in order from least to greatest, I'm going to be moving from left to right on my number line. And so as I move from left to right, the first number I see is 5/6. And then I see 7/6. And then I see 9/6. Now, we could have also seen that 5/6 is the smallest fraction. It's the first fraction as we increase, because 5/6 is the only fraction that is less than 1. So that's the case here, where the number line and the fractions that you're comparing all have the same denominator, right? So that's pretty easy. Let's move to another case where now we're looking for fractions with different denominators. So that's a little bit more difficult. So again, we're going to graph, and then we're going to put them in order. And again, in this case, from least to greatest. So let's take a look, and let's make our thing a little bit narrower. Okay, and so let's do this. So we look at 1/8 is the easiest one to do because it's already on the number line. So I'm gonna, whoops, that's my highlighter. I don't want to highlight. I actually want to just kind of graph it. Okay, so 1/8 out of the way. Now, let's look at 1/4 and 1/2. In the case of 1/4, well, you may or may not know what the equivalent is in terms of eighths, but let's take a look at how we would do it. Okay, let's say you don't know. Okay, you want to know 1/4 equals how many eighths? All right, well, this is a simple proportion, and so that means that whatever I do to the denominator, which is times 2, I have to do to the numerator, which is times 2, and that gives me 2/8. So here we go. Here's 2/8, and here actually we should write these as we graph them. First was 1/8, and now we have 2/8, which is 1/4. Okay, and now let's look at 1/2. And another way to show this proportional relationship is 1/2 is how many eighths? So again, we're setting it up basically the same way. But what I want to show is the reasoning behind doing the same thing to the denominator and the numerator, which is when we multiply or divide by 1, which is the multiplicative identity, we don't change the value, right? So here I'm going to put a fraction here that is equivalent to 1. So I still have to say to myself, 2 times what is 8? And that would be 2 times 4. And then I immediately know this fraction in the bar has to be equivalent to 1. So that's going to be 4/4. And so 1 times 4 is 4. And I have 4/8. And so I'm going to graph that, 4/8. Okay, now that would be 1/2. And again, in order to double check, what you want to do is you want to make sure that as you are moving left to right on the number line, you have the least to greatest order of your fractions. So that would be 1/8, 2/8, and 4/8, or 1/8, 1/4, and 1/2. And so when you do have a number line that has the same denominator for all the demarcations, all the intervals, and you have fractions that have different denominators, what you are going to need to do is find common denominators before you do your graphing and ordering. And that just makes sense because, again, you want to compare and order the same size pieces.